Imagine walking into the hotel you built with your own two hands. The marble floors, the chandeliers, the staff uniforms. Every detail chosen by you. Now imagine being told you don't belong there, denied a room, and humiliated in front of strangers. That's exactly what happened to Vanessa King. And the staff had no idea the woman they were dismissing was their boss, the CEO of the entire chain. What came next left everyone in shock. Vanessa King was not just successful. She was extraordinary. A black woman in her mid-40s, she had risen from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful CEOs in the hospitality industry. Her empire, King Hospitality Group, spanned across states and countries, with luxury hotels that rivaled the finest brands in the world. But what made Vanessa unique wasn't just her achievements. It was her humility. Unlike many executives who flaunted their wealth with entourages and designer excess, Vanessa preferred simplicity. She often traveled alone, dressed modestly, and kept her presence low-key. She believed that true power didn't need to announce itself. That evening, Vanessa had decided to stop by one of her flagship properties unannounced. She loved doing this, blending in, observing her guests' experiences firsthand. It was how she kept her hotels at the top of the industry, by seeing them the way a guest would. She wore a navy blazer over a white blouse, dark jeans, and flats. Her natural hair was neatly tied back. No flashy jewelry, no designer logos. She looked like any professional woman checking in for a weekend stay. And that was exactly how she wanted it. The moment she stepped into the grand lobby, her eyes softened with pride. The glass chandeliers sparkled. The marble floors gleamed. A pianist played a soft tune by the bar. Guests laughed over cocktails. Everything looked perfect, exactly as she had envisioned years ago when she first drew the sketches on her kitchen table. But what Vanessa didn't know was that, tonight, she wasn't going to be treated like the owner. She wasn't even going to be treated like a valued guest. She walked confidently to the front desk, suitcase rolling softly behind her. The receptionist, a young woman with neatly pinned hair, greeted her with a trained smile. "Good evening. Welcome to the Grand Regent. May I have your name, please?" "Yes," Vanessa said calmly. "Reservation for the King. Vanessa King." The receptionist's smile faltered almost instantly. She tapped the keyboard, eyes scanning the screen. Seconds passed. Her expression hardened. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said. "I don't see your reservation in our system. Are you sure this is the correct property?" Vanessa's brows lifted slightly. "Yes, I booked it myself." The receptionist glanced at her outfit, her suitcase, then back at the screen. Her tone shifted, losing its practiced warmth. "We're fully booked tonight. You'll need to find accommodations elsewhere." Vanessa tilted her head. "Fully booked? That's interesting. I made this reservation weeks ago." The receptionist sighed. "Ma'am, mistakes happen. Maybe the card didn't go through. These rooms are very expensive." She emphasized the last words, her eyes narrowing. The implication was clear. "You don't look like someone who belongs here." A couple standing nearby turned their heads, sensing tension. Vanessa's pulse remained steady. She had dealt with this kind of assumption before, people underestimating her because of her skin, her gender, her understated style. But this time, it cut deeper, because she wasn't just any guest. She was the reason this hotel existed. "Check again," Vanessa said firmly, her voice calm but commanding. "Vanessa King. I guarantee you'll find it." The receptionist exhaled sharply, annoyed, as if Vanessa was wasting her time. She typed again, then looked up with forced finality. "No reservation. I'm afraid you'll have to leave, ma'am." Before Vanessa could respond, another figure approached. A middle-aged man in a suit, the shift manager. His expression carried no warmth. "What seems to be the issue?" he asked the receptionist. "She claims she has a booking," the receptionist said dismissively. "But nothing's showing. She's insisting we check again." The manager turned to Vanessa with a patronizing smile. "Ma'am, we cannot manufacture rooms out of thin air. Perhaps you should try one of the cheaper hotels down the street." A murmur rippled through the lobby. Guests were watching now. Some whispered. Others stared. Vanessa remained poised, though inside her patience was being tested. "I have a confirmed reservation," she said, holding up her phone with the booking details. "Would you like to see it?" The manager didn't even glance at the screen. Instead, his smile faded into a scowl. "Ma'am, please don't make a scene. Security will escort you out if necessary." Vanessa's jaw tightened. Humiliation wasn't new to her. But humiliation here in her own empire? That was intolerable. A large man in a security uniform appeared by the desk, clearly summoned by the manager. He crossed his arms, towering over Vanessa. His presence was meant to intimidate. "Is there a problem here?" the guard asked. The manager nodded toward Vanessa. "Yes, this woman refuses to leave after being told there's no reservation." The guard's eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, I'll have to ask you to step away." The entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. A mother pulled her child closer. A businessman whispered to his companion. Everyone could feel the tension mounting. But Vanessa didn't flinch. She looked the guard directly in the eye, her voice unwavering. "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully," she said, "because you're about to make a mistake that could cost you your job." The guard blinked, startled by the calm authority in her tone. The manager frowned, annoyed. "Ma'am, enough. This hotel is not for everyone." His words dripped with arrogance. Vanessa smiled faintly. "You're right. It's not for everyone. It's for those who respect it. And clearly you don't." As the crowd whispered, Vanessa's mind drifted back to the beginning. She was 22 when she graduated from business school, working 2 jobs to pay her tuition. She had dreamed of creating spaces where people of all backgrounds felt welcomed and valued. Hotels, she believed, weren't just buildings, they were sanctuaries. Her first property was a rundown inn in her hometown. She poured every dollar she had into renovating it, working late nights, scrubbing floors, even changing sheets herself. When that inn became a success, she reinvested every penny into buying a second property. Then a third. By 35, Vanessa owned half a dozen boutique hotels. By 40, she had founded King Hospitality Group. And by 45, her flagship properties were competing with Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons. She had fought sexism, racism, and countless doubters along the way, but she had never let anyone dictate her worth. And tonight, she wasn't about to start. Back in the present, Vanessa pulled out her phone. Calmly, in front of the staff, the guard, and the watching guests, she dialed a number. The manager scoffed. "Calling the police? Go ahead. They'll tell you the same thing." But Vanessa didn't call the police. She called the regional director of King Hospitality. Within moments, her voice carried through the lobby, deliberate and clear. "Yes, this is Vanessa King. I'm at the Grand Regent, and I'm being denied my reservation. Please have corporate send someone down immediately." "Thank you." The manager's smirk faltered. The receptionist looked confused. Guests leaned closer, whispering, "Vanessa King?" But it wasn't until 15 minutes later, when a black sedan pulled up outside and 3 executives in suits rushed through the doors, that the staff realized the truth. The real storm was about to hit. The lobby buzzed with curiosity. Guests whispered as the black sedan outside pulled up to the entrance. The receptionist straightened, sensing something unusual. The manager frowned, his confidence faltering. Through the glass doors, 3 figures strode in. Suits pressed to perfection, polished shoes clicking against the marble, faces grim. They weren't ordinary guests. They were King Hospitality executives. The tallest of them, Mr. Ellis, the regional director, marched straight to the desk. "Where is she?" he demanded. His eyes scanned the room, locking onto Vanessa. In an instant, his expression transformed, from stern professionalism to respectful urgency. "Ms. King," he said, his voice carrying through the lobby. "We are so sorry." Gasps echoed. The receptionist's jaw dropped. The manager's face drained of color. The security guard shifted uncomfortably. Guests craned their necks, murmuring, "Ms. King? Vanessa King? The CEO?" Vanessa stepped forward calmly, her poise unshaken. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Every eye in the lobby was already on her. "Yes," she said simply. Vanessa King, CEO of King Hospitality Group. And tonight, in my own hotel, I was denied a room. Disrespected. Humiliated. The words struck like thunder. The executives turned on the staff. Mr. Ellis's tone sharpened. Explain this. Now. The receptionist stammered. I didn't know. The manager interrupted, voice cracking. We thought. There was no reservation in the system. Vanessa cut him off, her gaze like steel. You didn't think. You assumed. You looked at me and decided I didn't belong. You judged me by my appearance, not my reservation, not my name, not my identity. The crowd was silent. The only sound was the pianist, who had stopped mid-song, his hands frozen above the keys. Mr. Ellis gestured sharply to the staff. You two step aside. Security, take their badges. Effective immediately, you are suspended. The receptionist's face crumpled. The manager's lips trembled. The guard lowered his eyes, ashamed. Vanessa's words sliced through the silence. Every chandelier above your head, every paycheck you've ever cashed, every uniform you wear, it exists because of me. And tonight, you thought you could strip me of my dignity? That ends now. Guests erupted in murmurs. Some clapped softly, inspired by her composure. Others shook their heads in disbelief at the arrogance of the staff. The staff's regret was written across their faces. In one instant, their smugness had turned to horror. Vanessa didn't just want justice. She wanted this moment to mean something. She turned, addressing the entire lobby. Her voice was strong, yet calm, echoing across the marble. This isn't just about me. This is about every guest who's been dismissed, every person who's been underestimated, every woman, every person of color who has been told they don't belong in places they worked twice as hard to reach. This hotel, my hotel, was built to welcome everyone. And tonight, that promise was broken. A wave of applause swept the room. Guests rose to their feet. Some even shouted, "Yes!" And that's right. The executives nodded, solemn. Mr. Ellis spoke firmly. Ms. King, we assure you this will never happen again. Disciplinary action will be swift. Training will be overhauled. And your vision for this hotel will be honored. The manager tried one last plea. Ms. King, please, we didn't mean. Vanessa silenced him with a glance. Intent doesn't erase impact. Tonight, you showed this hotel what prejudice looks like. And I won't tolerate it. The receptionist sobbed quietly, realizing her career was over. The guard shifted uncomfortably, knowing he had misjudged the wrong woman. The staff were escorted out. The lobby buzzed with relief and awe. Guests approached Vanessa, some offering handshakes, others simply thanking her. A young woman whispered, "You just showed me what strength looks like." Vanessa smiled softly. Strength is standing tall when others try to make you small. Mr. Ellis guided Vanessa toward a suite, the presidential suite reserved for the most prestigious guests. But Vanessa paused, looking back at the crowd. I don't need a suite tonight, she said. What I need is for every guest here to know they're valued. That's the promise of King Hospitality. Her words resonated deeply. Guests cheered. The energy in the room shifted from tension to inspiration. Later that night, in the quiet of her office suite, Vanessa sat by the window overlooking the city skyline. She sipped tea, her mind replaying the evening. She thought of her early struggles, boardrooms where she was ignored, deals where she was underestimated. She thought of the nights she cried, the mornings she rose again, the grit it took to build her empire. And she thought of the receptionist's words. These rooms are very expensive. Vanessa smiled faintly. Expensive, yes. But the most expensive mistake that staff would ever make was underestimating her. The next morning, Vanessa addressed her staff in a company-wide memo. Her words were clear. Disrespect has no home in King Hospitality. Every guest, regardless of background, wealth, or appearance, must be treated with dignity. Our brand is not marble floors or chandeliers. It is respect. And without that, we are nothing. Her message spread beyond her hotels. News outlets picked up the story. Social media buzzed with praise for her composure and power. And everywhere, people repeated the lesson: never judge someone by what you think you see. Weeks later, training programs were overhauled. Staff across the company received education in diversity, equity, and respect. The manager and receptionist who had humiliated Vanessa were never seen in the industry again. But the story of that night lived on. Guests told it at dinner tables. Employees whispered it in break rooms. And Vanessa herself remembered it as proof that leadership isn't about titles or money. It's about standing tall when your dignity is tested. Vanessa barely slept that night. Though the executives had apologized, though justice had been served, her mind replayed the humiliation. The eyes of strangers watching her be dismissed. The arrogance in the manager's voice. The sting of being told, "This hotel is not for everyone." In the stillness of her suite, she whispered to herself, "How many others have felt this way in my hotels? How many left feeling small?" Her heart clenched at the thought. She hadn't built this empire for chandeliers and velvet ropes. She built it to create safe havens, places where no one would feel out of place. And yet, tonight, in her own sanctuary, she'd been treated like an intruder. The memory took her back 20 years, to a crowded boardroom. She was the only woman, the only black entrepreneur in the room, pitching her first big hotel project. One man chuckled halfway through her presentation. "Hotels? That's a man's business. Are you sure you don't want to try a bed and breakfast instead?" Another leaned back, smirking. "Do you even have the capital for this? I don't see anyone betting on you." Vanessa had walked out of that meeting with nothing but rejection. But instead of crumbling, she doubled down. She refinanced her tiny home. She begged for small business loans. She networked relentlessly until one investor gave her a chance. That chance became her first hotel. And that hotel became the foundation of her empire. "If I let their doubt define me then," she thought, "I'd never be here today. And I won't let anyone define me now." By morning, the incident had spread through the entire hotel. Staff whispered nervously as Vanessa entered the conference room. Executives stood, lowering their heads respectfully. Vanessa sat at the head of the table, commanding silence without raising her voice. "Last night," she began, "I wasn't treated as a CEO. I wasn't treated as a guest. I was treated as less. And that is unacceptable in king hospitality." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "This hotel was built on one promise: dignity. If even I can be denied that, then every guest is at risk. And if that happens, then this brand, my life's work, means nothing." The room stayed silent, heavy with shame. Executives scribbled notes. Department heads nodded solemnly. "This isn't about one receptionist or one manager," Vanessa continued. "It's about culture, and culture starts at the top. If our people can't see the humanity in every guest, then we've failed." Her voice softened, but her gaze sharpened. And failure is not an option. Later that day, Vanessa walked through the lobby. Guests who had witnessed the confrontation the night before approached her. A woman in her 60s clasped Vanessa's hand. "I was here last night. I've faced that kind of treatment before. Watching you stand tall, it gave me hope." A young man whispered, "My mother works in housekeeping. She says people talk down to her all the time. Thank you for standing up for dignity." Each voice reminded Vanessa why she had built this empire. Not for marble, not for profit, but for people. By evening, the story had leaked to the press. Headlines appeared online. Black CEO denied service in her own hotel. Vanessa King stands against discrimination at flagship property. Hospitality giant embarrassed by its own staff. Social media buzzed. Hashtags trended. Support poured in from activists, entrepreneurs, and everyday travelers. People shared their own stories of humiliation and bias, adding weight to Vanessa's message. The humiliation she had endured was now fuel for a larger fire. The world was watching. Inside the hotel, staff were shaken. Some cried in the break room, terrified of losing their jobs. Others felt ashamed, realizing they had looked away while prejudice played out at their desk. One young trainee whispered, "I should have spoken up. I saw the way she was treated. I was too scared to say anything." Vanessa overheard. She approached gently. "Courage is hard," she said. "But silence is agreement. Next time, don't be silent. Be better." The trainee nodded, eyes wet with gratitude. At headquarters the following week, Vanessa addressed the full company. Thousands of employees watched via livestream. What happened at the Grand Regent was not an isolated mistake. It was a symptom of assumptions, bias, and arrogance. But we are not here to point fingers. We are here to change. She announced sweeping reforms. Mandatory training in diversity and hospitality. A new hotline for guests who experience discrimination. Direct oversight of front desk practices. And then, the boldest move of all, every staff member will spend 1 week as a guest, undercover. Only when you feel what it's like to be dismissed will you understand why we cannot allow it. The announcement was met with thunderous applause. The former manager, stripped of his title, tried to appeal privately. "Ms. King, I made a mistake. I've worked in hospitality for 20 years. Please give me another chance." Vanessa regarded him coolly. "Hospitality is not about 20 years of practice. It's about one moment of respect. And last night you failed." His shoulders slumped. For the first time, he understood. His arrogance had cost him everything. Weeks later, a guest who had been in the lobby during the incident told the story at a dinner party. "I'll never forget it," she said. The receptionist tried to send her away, and then suddenly the executives came rushing in, calling her Ms. King. The look on their faces, it was priceless. But what struck me wasn't the reveal. It was how calm she stayed the whole time, like a queen teaching her court a lesson. The story spread, not just as gossip, but as inspiration. 1 month later, Vanessa stood in the penthouse suite of the Grand Regent, overlooking the city lights. Alone, she reflected. She thought of her mother, who once told her, "You will have to fight twice as hard for half the respect. But if you keep fighting, one day you'll command more respect than anyone." Her mother had been right. Vanessa whispered into the night, "Respect is the true luxury." And somewhere in the lobby below, guests laughed, glasses clinked, and staff treated each of them with warmth. The incident at the Grand Regent had become more than a story. It was a movement. Articles appeared in major business magazines. Morning talk shows debated the meaning of implicit bias in hospitality. Hashtags like #RespectInService and #VanessaKingMoment trended on social media. College students studied the incident in business ethics classes. "This is what leadership looks like," one professor declared, showing the video clip of Vanessa's calm confrontation. Her name had always been respected in corporate circles. Now, it resonated with everyday people who had never stayed in her hotels. She wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was a symbol. But symbols are often tested. 1 month later, Vanessa visited another property, this time in a different city. She wore the same understated style. Simple blazer, jeans, no entourage. She wanted to see if the lessons had reached this hotel. At the front desk, the receptionist greeted her warmly, professional and kind. Vanessa smiled inwardly. Good. The training is working. But as she waited in the lobby, she overheard a couple arguing with another staff member. The man, wearing a business suit, spoke sharply. "I told you I booked the executive suite. Don't you dare try to downgrade me." The staff member explained calmly. "Sir, the suite is undergoing maintenance." The man slammed his fist on the counter. "Do you know who I am? I'll have your job." Guests turned to stare. The woman beside him rolled her eyes in embarrassment. Vanessa stepped closer, observing. She saw the staff member's hands tremble slightly, but his voice stayed steady. "Sir, I'm sorry, but I can offer you the penthouse suite instead, at no extra charge." The businessman sneered. "Too late. I want you fired." Vanessa felt the old fire rise in her chest. She approached slowly, placing a reassuring hand on the staff member's shoulder. "Excuse me," she said to the man. I think you owe this gentleman an apology. The businessman scoffed. And who are you to tell me anything? Vanessa looked him straight in the eyes. Vanessa King, CEO of King Hospitality. The color drained from his face. The lobby gasped. The staff member exhaled in relief. This employee handled the situation with professionalism, Vanessa continued. And you, sir, displayed arrogance and entitlement. My hotels are for guests, not bullies. The man stammered, tried to speak, then stormed off in humiliation. Applause rose from the lobby. The staff member whispered, "Thank you, Ms. King." Vanessa smiled. "No, thank you for embodying what this brand stands for." Days later, Vanessa received a handwritten letter. It was from a young woman who had been in the lobby that day. "I've worked in retail for 3 years," the letter read. "I've been yelled at, insulted, and treated like dirt. Watching you stand up for that employee made me cry. For the first time, I believed that maybe leaders do care. Thank you for showing me what's possible." Vanessa held the letter to her heart. "This is why I fight. Not for buildings. For people." Other hotel chains couldn't ignore the buzz. Competing CEOs issued statements about improving diversity training. Conferences invited Vanessa to speak on equity in hospitality. At one such conference, a rival CEO asked her bluntly, "Vanessa, do you think bias will ever disappear completely?" She replied without hesitation, "No, but respect can outshine it. And if leaders demand it, cultures can change." The audience erupted in applause. One night, Vanessa sat with her brother at a family gathering. They reminisced about their childhood. "Do you remember?" her brother said. "When Mom took us to that diner, and the waitress ignored us for 20 minutes while serving everyone else?" Vanessa nodded. She remembered the ache in her chest, the way her mother kept her chin high, refusing to leave until they were served. "Mom told me that night," Vanessa recalled. "Dignity isn't something you wait for. It's something you demand." Her brother smiled. "And you've been demanding it ever since." Vanessa laughed softly. But inside, she knew it wasn't just about demanding it for herself. It was about creating spaces where others wouldn't have to. Inspired by her reflections, Vanessa introduced a new company-wide policy. Guests who reported feeling dismissed or disrespected would receive a personal follow-up from management. Employees who demonstrated extraordinary respect and care would receive recognition and rewards. Secret mystery guests would be sent monthly to test staff responses. This policy wasn't about punishment. It was about culture, a culture of dignity. 1 year later, Vanessa again visited the Grand Regent, the same hotel where it all began. She walked in with the same understated attire. This time, the receptionist greeted her with a radiant smile. "Welcome, Ms. King. We're honored to have you back." No hesitation, no arrogance, just respect. Vanessa felt pride swell in her chest. The storm from a year ago had birthed real change. But just as she turned toward the elevators, a nervous staff member approached. "Ms. King, there's a guest who's causing trouble in the dining hall. Would you like us to handle it?" Vanessa considered, then smiled. "Let's handle it together." They walked to the dining hall, where a wealthy guest berated a server for bringing the wrong wine. Vanessa stepped in gently but firmly, defusing the situation. She praised the server publicly, ensuring the guest understood arrogance had no place there. It was the perfect full circle. Months later, King Hospitality's annual report revealed record-high guest satisfaction scores. Employees reported feeling safer and more valued. Vanessa's philosophy of respect had transformed not only her company but the entire industry. Business schools began teaching the Vanessa King standard as a case study. Her incident at the Grand Regent became legendary, not for the humiliation, but for the leadership that followed. In the quiet of her office one evening, Vanessa gazed out at the skyline, her empire glittering in the night. She thought of her mother's words. She thought of the humiliation she had faced. And she thought of the countless guests who would never feel that sting because of the changes she had made. She whispered to herself, "Respect is the true luxury, and it will always be priceless."